back to someone. So we went back and recruited again. This time was given more experienced candidates above what I probably was our budget, but I was happy to invest more in. Brought on a head of paid media, verbally accepted the job. I did a post about that prior to the counter offer one, and talked about how actually, despite having a call and him agreeing to leave and taking a week to come back on the contract, which point, because he had verbally said yes, and we had a follow-up call and we're expecting to sign contract, we had provisionally let the other candidates know that we are moving forward with another candidate, to come back and say, no, he's actually, not leaving and going to stay. So it becomes a bit of a warfare right now, not like a physical, literal warfare, but it's like you're having to compete. And that's why I did that post saying, I don't do counter offers. And I had someone come back to me saying, he was with me to the point where saying, you decide how much you want to earn, thinking that I was going to try and get with low. That role in particular, I get the posts that people do out all the time saying, you should have the, salary in the description. Every salary we have on our website, for every job description, the salary's there. But I invite people to ask what they feel they deserve if they feel they should be earning more. In this case, this candidate was significantly more. And that was what was discussed and agreed that would get him to leave his current firm to the other one, because clearly they weren't offering that. Clearly they hadn't seen that value in that person. And we were, and quote his words, offering the professional dream. So mine was like, I don't do counter offers because I'm not going to get in a bidding war for you. If you've made that conscious decision that you need a new challenge, you're not getting the value you're getting from your current firm, which is why you've gone out and, gone through a 1 month intense recruitment process for another agency. I'm not going to counter. I was like, no, that was my offer because that's what you wanted. Yeah. That's what you and me agreed with, that you said you were happy to do above what I said I'm happy to offer that. I went a little higher than what he was asking for just to secure the placement, which he valued. But clearly, obviously, it's easier to retain staff. But I always think, how happy is that person going to be in the long run? But
so recruitment, massive. Yeah. I asked I was at the Stodge Podge gathering of agency owners last week in Manchester, 200 agency people. One of the recruiters over in Manchester there. So I was at the bar chatting with him, and we were talking about this, recruitment is the biggest thing. He was obviously very positive about that whole being a recruitment company. But I asked him, well, what's the role that he finds most difficult to, or what's the key, most in-demand role? And just to sort of loop it back, the most in-demand role is, surprise, surprise, new business people.
Yeah.
So there's a virtuous. So new business has been relegated to number 2, but new business people are still the most sought after.
Yeah.
Or good new business people, the most sought after role. So they're connected. But
on that element, we did well. Now when we got the choice we wanted, and we've now got James McCann, who obviously is a fantastic candidate, head new business. Actually came from a bigger agency. We were able to offer him more, well, more as a package in terms of where the company's going and how he could be involved in that growth than anything else. But yeah, I agree. I think I'm actually with you. I think recruitment's the biggest challenge I myself is facing as a CEO of an agency. New business, not. I feel like we're trying to get our leads through. I think we're working through just over 100 active leads right now. Yeah. And in the 5 years I've been running the agency, I could never dreamed of looking at that. We're experimenting, but we're investing heavily into new business in terms of like lead generation, events, exhibitions. What works is creating content. We don't sell, we educate. We're, doing podcasts, we're doing bite-sized events, we're doing the latest blogs that people come to our website. So for the first time in a very long time post-pandemic, our website generally just generates leads for us without having to work. And then we invest into like lead forensics and stuff like that so we can profile. But it leads me to another question, which is you touched on this, and this is the last question I want to quickly ask is, there's so much choice there for clients. So what should businesses consider when working with agencies in the short and long term? So if you're a client and you're picking out an agency, you've got all this choice, as you've said, so many different elements, so many channels to choose from in terms of what you should be doing. What should be your thought process?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think if I was talking to clients now, if I had the opportunity to advise and maybe preach a little bit to clients, I'd be saying to them that what should they think about short and long term? I would think long term. actually, just to pick it right out of the question, because I'd try, that doesn't make the choice of choosing the agency any easier. But so many clients, I think, at the moment are just because of the proliferation of agencies, because of what we were talking about earlier, in terms of there's so much choice and so much the ability to sort of access agencies and support out there. So many people are just thinking short term, and let's get somebody in, see whether they're any good, and then if they're not, we'll get rid of him and get somebody else. And I understand that. Can't fight against that sort of thinking or change the minds completely, because that's a sort of human nature to some degree. But I think that's a shame, because I think it's a shame both for the client and for the agency. Because if I was talking to clients now, I'd be saying, think longer term, find somebody, spend the time, get the right process in place to get the right agency, but invest in them as much as you've invested in the time looking for them, because the relationship doesn't always go well from day one. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes both parties need time to understand each other. Sometimes you're doing the wrong things. They might think they need X, and you might think they need Y, and that takes time to sort of come together and agree and on the right strategy, the right channels, the right tactics, whatever we're doing. And I think this sort of hire and fire mentality for clients and agencies is not new. It's not been around. It's not suddenly appeared. It's been around for a long time. But I think that's getting worse, and I don't think it's doing anybody any favors. I'm not saying you should, as a client, sign 5-year contracts with agencies unless you really want to, of course, and you've got the right agency. But I'm not. You need the ability to flex and change who you're working with, but don't go into it for a couple of months and see how it goes. Find somebody stick with them, invest in them. How big a football fan I am. Like football managers, agencies sometimes need a bit of time to bed in and to get it right, and before they win the league. So
I know, because sometimes success can be instant. I mean, we worked with a client where, they had an issue with, we're working with Mayfair Granite, I can announce that, we're working with them. 40% reduction in cost per acquisition in the first month alone. That doesn't happen all the time. I even said this to the guy, I went, that's good. That's above what we expected. You are £110 CPA. Our short-term goal was to get you back under 100. So I only reduced that by, 10%, really. So the fact that we've done it above more is actually, I always say, bonus and brilliant. And that's just by doing the fundamentals right. And I can understand it from the other agency's point of view. They probably just got overloaded, maybe not given that time, not understanding the market as well. But that's one example. Is right now, anytime a client comes up to me and says, oh, we were working with an agency for a couple of months, my mind instantly is like a bit wary.
Yes.
And my approach changes completely. And I say, well, I want minimum 6 months. And it's like, here's the strategy, but give me 6 months to prove it and work with you to understand your business, how it works, and take it from there.
And if you're good and you know what you're doing, which clearly you guys at Bobble do, you can those relationships, those results can come pretty fast, can't they? In most cases. But as you say, and you've just given a great example there. But with agencies, the people that are coming to you saying, oh, we've just got rid of an agency after 2 months, again, that can be through bad choices, bad chemistry, lots of reasons. But both parties, clients and agencies, giving it each other some time. And that's not years, but it might be at least 6 months, maybe 12 months.
I think 6 months is a good point of call. That kind of wraps up this episode. So thank you, Gareth. I know you join us for the next episode. Anyway, thank you for everyone watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify and all the major streaming podcast platforms out there. Don't forget to follow, subscribe the main podcast streaming platforms, and click the like button on YouTube and give us your thoughts. Did you like that episode? If you're an agency owner, what are the challenges you're facing? Drop us a message. I'll add it into my roundup and my episodes in a couple of weeks' times. But also, if you're a business and you're struggling to find an agency, what are the challenges you're facing? Let us know. We'd be happy to discuss in the chat and in the conversation. But thank you everyone for listening, and thank you, Gareth, for joining me today.
Thanks, Manni.